Manhattan Bank has been serving the Gallatin Valley since 1905. Started by local farmers in order to help grow the agriculture industry, Manhattan Bank has since grown into a full-service bank serving the entire valley. With branches in Manhattan, Churchill, Three Forks, and Bozeman, you're never far from your local bank.
As banks are consolidating and changing, Manhattan Bank sets themselves apart through consistency and a small-town banking feel. Come see why we have been in the Valley for well over 100 years. Stop by the new building in Bozeman, see Justin Skillman and Tyler Dosher for your business banking, and Brad Whitmer for your home loans. Go Cats.
Member FDIC.
Welcome, everybody, to the R&R Catcast, a fan-based podcast focusing on Montana State athletics. We're two dudes named Ryan from the state of Washington talking about our dear Montana State. We hope you enjoy. All right. Welcome back, Bobcat fans. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the R&R Catcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Foley. He's your host, Ryan Thornburg. We are the Ryans of the R&R Catcast, the Montana State affiliate of the Big Sky Podcast Network. And we are sponsored by Manhattan Bank, the Dank Bank out of Bozeman, Montana, Churchill, Manhattan, Three Forks, Justin and Company, taking care of all your banking needs, a personal bank for personal people. We love being partners with Manhattan Bank. Go check them out. You won't be disappointed. Thorny, we're here to talk about the beatdown of homecoming against Idaho State and preview the Northern Colorado Backland Bears, as I like to call them. But first, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
Shouldn't it be whoop down? Isn't that the coined phrase from this podcast?
Whoop down.
They're whoop downs. They're not beat downs. They're good old whoop downs. I'm doing pretty good, man. I've been fighting with Verizon Wireless for 2 days, just trying to get my wife a brand new phone, which has just gone completely south. Needless to say, we are now T-Mobile customers. But other than that, man, I'm doing pretty good. I'm
Oh,
pretty
man.
irritated with Verizon, but you know what? It happens. It happens sometimes.
You stuck it to the man to give it to another man, huh?
Pretty
I like
much,
it.
yeah. It's a pink man.
Oh, man.
T-Mobile.
So I have had the same iPhone for probably 7 years now. I've been on the iPhone 8. And my camera has been going out on me. If you notice, all my pictures on Instagram are slightly blurry. It's because my camera won't focus. Anyways, I made the choice. I was like, okay, maybe it's time to get a new iPhone. And so I go into Verizon, the store that is just across from my work there, my school. And they're like, hey, we can give you an iPhone, no problem. And I was like, sweet, the new one, whatever's out. I think it's the 14 now.
Yes.
And the guy pulls out the box and it's a red iPhone. I go, no, I can't do it, man. He goes, well, just put a little cover on it. And I'm like, I'm probably gonna have that phone for at least 6-7 years. I don't want a red phone. And he looked at me like, this is all we got, man. And I was like, I'll just get one later. And so then I made another appointment to go down to we have an Apple store in Spokane. They didn't have anything. I went to a different Verizon. They didn't have anything. Apparently iPhones are out across the world right now. So whatever. I still have the shaky old iPhone 8.
Yeah, the iPhone 14 like Pros and stuff were like back ordered forever. We just wanted the iPhone 13. So that was even a hard one to find. That's the last one in stock. But anyway, we're spending too much time talking about iPhones probably here. But it would be nice, yeah, if you're gonna be the Instagram man, it'd be nice to have a modern camera that doesn't blur everything. Would probably be a worthwhile investment for the podcast, for the socials, our big social media presence.
Well, I'll get around to it when I get around to it. I got a couple sticks in the fire. We'll see what pops out.
All right, sounds good.
Just making things up over here now. Okay, let's do a little show rundown. A down run, I almost called it. See, now you got me thinking about this whoop down thing, and now I'm changing all my words over here.
Sticks and fire to see what comes out. Like, what does that even mean?
I don't know. I think I made that up. We're just getting old. We just make up sayings now. People believe it. Like If you say it with enough conviction, people will be
Well,
like,
absolutely.
"Yep, that's
Absolutely.
exactly what he meant."
Oh, that's a nice phrase I've never
All
heard. What does it mean? I don't know. I like it.
All right, this episode. Well, we'll talk about homecoming. We'll talk about before we get into homecoming, the usual stuff. We'll talk about what happened in the Brett Vegan's press conference and some news that came out. That there's some good news. We'll probably spend a little bit of time on there. The injury list and FCS stats poll. We'll probably talk about the Big Sky Power rankings as we both vote in that, and then we'll probably get into the Northern Colorado Battling Bears and preview that game. But we're going to try to keep this a little shorter.
Okay.
The Fighting McCaffreys. I kind of like the Battling Bears. What are they called? The Golden Bears? Is that really what they're called?
I think so. Now you got
Golden
me second
Bears?
guessing myself, but like, I'm pretty sure it's the Golden Bears. Northern Colorado.
Does anybody ever call them the Golden Bears, or are they just the Bears? The Bears. That's what the media guide says. Just the Bears.
Where do we get golden at?
We can put any
that's Cal.
qualifier in
That's
front
like Cal, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right.
Whatever.
I like Battling
Bears. It flows.
Battling Bears.
We've improved for the first time in a decade. We've improved something with Northern Colorado. You're welcome, Northern Colorado. If it's not the Battling Bears,
send me a check now. At least 1% in perpetuity.
Please. Yes.
Yeah, of everything you sell. Thank you. Appreciate that. Called it on the R&R. All right. Let's get into what's in our golden coolies.
Well, you're not a real Bobcat fan if you don't drink Bozone Amber, which is a little jab at some drama going on the Bobcat Nation. But I got a Bozone Amber over here. Is what I'm drinking. Delicious, always classic. Can't go wrong.
Would you cue up the folksy music for me?
What's in your golden coolie?
Why are you shaking your head over there? Like, what am I doing wrong? I forgot the music. Forgot my little intro. Oh, man.
I look forward to that now, like every week.
It does signal. It kind of kicks things off a little bit. Darn it. All right. Well, I'm drinking the Bozone Amber. My backup beer, which I'll talk about now, is a lovely Michelob Ultra Superior Light beer. 2.6 carbs. Which does not fit into a golden koozie because it's a stupid slender can.
Is it one of those skinny cans?
Well, that's what they all are, but at least it's not that stupid 8-ounce one I accidentally bought a couple years ago, which I didn't know was a thing until I accidentally bought it. So at least it's a full 12-ounce beer. It's a full man-sized beer. Maybe not a man beer, but a man-sized beer.
I remember when you bought that 8-ounce.
I was so mad. So mad. That's like seeing a cookie and thinking it's a chocolate chip cookie and biting into it and it's like an oatmeal raisin cookie. I mean, that was the level of my disappointment and realizing I bought an 8-ounce beer. So I can't think of like an ultra on this podcast without thinking about that little snafu.
Oh man. Oh, my stomach hurts. That's such a good. I forgot about that one. Yeah, that's a good one. All right. All right. Oh, I picked up an IPA. It's not an 8-ounce IPA. It's a regular 12-ounce IPA from Astoria, Oregon. It's called Bowie. Just Bowie.
Man, I love
straight up
Bowie has some good beers. I haven't had their IPA, but I've had their stuff. It's good.
Yeah, so Bowie Beer Company. I guess that's what it's called. It's just called IPA. Well, all right. Well done. So yeah, full of flavor. This Northwest IPA is proof that you can go big without the bitter bite. Although it's pretty crisp. I like that. Nothing overboard. Well balanced and lovingly dry hopped with Meridian and Crystal hops for a rich citrusy finish. Beer with a backbone, born from a place where little heavy weather never hurt anyone. 7.5% alcohol. This is a big beer for Ryan Foley.
Yeah, it's like at least 3 times the beer of my Ultra. But I've had the Bowie red before, and I may have had a brown, maybe not, maybe just a lager, but I've had the red for sure, and I know that the red's pretty good. But yeah, good choice, good solid choice. What do you think of it?
Yeah, it's good. It's really hoppy. You know what I really missed is through the whole phase of hazy IPAs had just like now when you're looking at all the things, everything's a hazy IPA. It went from like a couple of them making hazies and you're like, well, that's kind of new. That's kind of a different taste. It's pretty good. And now they're just flooding the market. Now I want my IPAs to be crisp and clean again. And this is actually for one of our listeners, my good buddy, Mark. Mark was giving me crap on Running Club just this week. He goes, hey, I listen to your episodes all the time, and all you're talking about lately is ambers. Can I get another IPA on there? So here it is, Mark. I picked this one up for you.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I mean, the shopping hasn't changed for me because I pretty much avoid anything with the word IPA in it. Now there's just more words to ignore. But, they're just replacing IPAs with different kinds of IPAs, which I'm still avoiding them all. But, yeah.
All right. Well, we butchered that.
Yeah.
What's in your golden coolie segment?
Well, it was we had a good time, though. We had a good laugh.
All right. Yes, if you want a golden coolie, you can win one from just submitting golden coolie questions. You can purchase one on Ko-fi just out of your general kindness and heart to just support our podcast. I think they're $5 on there. Or
I think so.
If you can't really afford one and you really want to, you really want one, maybe for a future stocking stuffer or something. I'm not sure. Just maybe for yourself. Just give me a call or text me. You guys don't have my numbers. Send us a message on social medias, and we will provide you with a golden coolie. I'll send it out in the mail. I'm typically a week behind, but I get them out there.
There's no hurry. There's no hurry. They're freebies, right?
Yeah. All right. And then put a little sticker in there, too. So you get a R&R CatCast sticker and a coolie. It's like a little package deal. It's kind of nice.
A little fully care package.
Well, fully care package is exactly right. All right. Hey, well, let's get into this, talk about the football game instead of just golden coolie talk. So first things first, let's talk about, let's go into the stats. So let's just get that out of the way. Then we'll go into Coach Vigen's presser, which will parlay right into injury talk. And then we'll hop into the homecoming after that.
Are we going to talk about the polls at all?
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about right now.
You just said talk about the stats. That was your word.
FCS stats poll.
Oh, okay, yeah, the FCS stats poll. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, you're skipping around fully.
Yeah.
All right.
I know. Sorry.
I don't have that up, so why don't you go ahead and take that one?
Yeah, that's it. That's one of my things I do.
Perfect.
I got it. North Dakota State stayed at number 1. South Dakota State's number 2. Montana number 3. Montana State stayed at number 4. So top 4 stayed the same. The only thing different was, Sac State stayed 5. Weber State is now 6. So they moved up to from 7 to 6. And that makes pretty much the top 6. And honestly, if I look at that group right there, Ryan, I think those are the only 6 schools that probably have a chance at winning a national championship. I don't know much about Holy Cross at number 7. Jackson State's really good. I don't know if they have the dudes to make a run at the national championship. I don't even think Jackson State plays in the national championship. They play in that HBCU bowl.
I think they can
so,
if they want to, but I don't really fully understand it. I don't think they'll be.
Yeah, I heard Sam Herder talk about it at one point, but I can't recall his argument on that. So that'd be a good question for Sam. Incarnate Word is tied for 8th there. And Chattanooga and William and Mary. But see, like, I kind of think that, Chattanooga at 10 wouldn't beat, I don't know, would they beat Idaho at this point?
I don't know much about Chattanooga. I know William and Mary just beat Delaware, who was number 6 team in the country. So, William and Mary can make a run. Southern Illinois is on a tear right now, down at number 16 after dropping a couple early. They're kind of storming back. North Dakota. You never know. That's what's great about the FCS, right? The playoffs, you get your foot in the door. But yeah, realistically, you're looking at the heavy hitters of the last few years, your usual suspects up there at the top, probably having the best chance. to advance, but that's why they play the games. That's what makes it so fun.
So other things to note about the top 25, Eastern Washington dropped out of the top 25. I'd be interested to see what was their run in the top 25. Probably a couple of years. I don't know the research on that, but they dropped out, and others receiving votes would be, let's see, Idaho. Idaho's up there. They're like second so they're like 2 spots away from being in the top 25. I'd imagine if they win this week against the Grizzlies, yeah,
of course.
If they win against the Grizzlies, they will be a top 25 ranked team. The Little Brown Stein being played over in Missoula. A game that most notably Bobby Houck takes very seriously, considers it a true rival. He gets up for this game, so I've heard.
Good for you, Bobby.
Yeah. Eastern Washington's getting votes. I don't think UC Davis is getting votes anymore. Maybe they're in there.
No, and Missouri State receiving votes at 30. Man, talk about a fall. They were like, number 4 at one point? Number 5? Like, they were top 5, and they
like 7.
They're 2 and 4. They've lost like 4 in a row, all the way down. Ugh, yeah. Poor.
Just another Petrino team not making good moves.
Fighting Petrinos.
So, fighting Petrinos. There's legions of them out there.
There are.
Okay. So, yeah, I think I would say, just if you're looking at this, viewers and listeners should not be surprised that really the top 6, Weber, Sac State, Montana, 4 from the Big Sky, and then 2 from the Missouri Valley Conference, are really the teams that you're going to probably see in the semifinals and in the national championship. So
I would be remiss.
We're halfway through the season, but I would predict, I'd be pretty comfortable predicting those 6 teams will be well balanced in the quarterfinals, or well represented in the quarterfinals at least.
Yeah, I agree. And I would be remiss, and we don't have to talk about this much at all, but right there, number 14, sitting at 5-1, Elon, quarterbacked by our old quarterback, Matt McKay, who's like top 10 in pretty much every single major passing category, having a heck of a season. Wouldn't that be a story if Elon somehow comes out to Bozeman for a playoff game? I don't even really want to think about that. But I haven't really talked about it too much on the podcast. But yeah, Matt McKay having a good season. Elon, number 14, 5-1 in the CAA. They have a good shot at making the playoffs.
I mean, it begs a question, why? Why is Matt McKay doing so good?
I mean, yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on that. I've been thinking about that. I don't know. It just wasn't a good fit out here. You can say whatever you want to say. I just don't think it was a talent problem in terms of McKay being a talented quarterback. Who knows what went south?
I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
No super hard feelings here. Let's
talk about the Big Sky podcast power rankings.
Right. Let's read off what came out, and then let's read ours. I think we've been doing the inverse. I kind of want to say what came out. Sac State, number 1, Montana, number 2, Weber State, number 3, Montana State, number 4, Idaho, number 5, Eastern and UC Davis tied at 6. Then it goes Portland State, NAU, Northern Colorado, Cal Poly, and Idaho State. I'm pretty sure, let's be honest, 6 through 12 don't really matter right now. The only one who kind of matters in there is maybe Portland State and maybe UC Davis. Maybe, I don't know, I don't know who matters in that. Portland State probably matters more than anyone. They probably have the best chance to do something for an at-large.
But I kind of think UC Davis has that best shot to do something as an at-large, because they're going into like a really easy stretch right now, but then they end with, I believe, with Sac State, right? The Cosmic
they always
Classic.
play Sac State, but I think they have a trip to Weber or Montana. No, they already played Weber. I think they play the Grizz, don't they? Somebody
I can pull it up real quick, but they could they're 1-5 right now, and then they could finish. They could go 5-5, and then maybe be one of those teams that knocks off one of those players at the end and sneaks in with that like an at-large bid with 6 wins. And so
if they can win out with their final win of the season being Sac State, who presumably will be top 5 at the time, like that resume. They want you.
Idaho.
Is it Idaho? I thought they had someone
Idaho
else
before Sac State.
Okay,
yeah.
So yeah, they got Idaho and Sac State left. So if they can run the gauntlet, they still have an outside shot at making the playoffs, but that'd be pretty minimal.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of think Portland State, UC Davis are in that same kind of group to me. But the way I ranked mine, I put Sac State first, Montana State second, Weber third, U of M fourth, and Idaho fifth. As far as the top four, I don't know, man. You can just throw a dart on a board and probably mix match each one of us, like Sac State, Montana State, Weber, U of M. Who knows at this point? We're going to know a little bit more here in a little bit because we're all going to play each other in the short term. Eastern Washington, I had behind Portland State. So I went UC Davis, Portland State, Eastern Washington, NAU, Cal Poly, UNC, ISU.
I think I went exactly as you did. I think I was going to put... Actually, no, I think I did end up putting Eastern Washington above Portland State because I'm just thinking in my head, like, if those two played each other, I still feel like Eastern Washington probably wins that game. But
I don't know, man. I'm kind of out on Eastern right now. They're kind of really porous. Like their defense is just not good. And I'm not too sold on Talkington either. I think he's okay, but I don't think he's great.
No.
He's like middle tier quarterback. Big Sky right now.
I think the only things unanimous in this poll were probably Idaho 5 and Idaho State last. But yeah, I had Sac, Weber, MSU, and Montana, I believe is how I ended up voting. I was pretty impressed with Weber's beatdown of Eastern Washington at home. They dominated that game.
Down.
Sac State, I've had them in number one for at least 1 week. Like, they haven't done anything for me to think anything differently. And basically, I had the Grizz at number 2, I think, last week, but I bumped down to number 4 because they had the bye week and everyone else looked impressive this week. So just due to the fact that teams looked impressive and one team was coming off an performance and then a bye week. But like I said, man, 1 through 4, put them on a dartboard, throw some darts. It's really, that's why Idaho's the consensus 5, because the 1 for 4 are like, those are the clear 4 right now, and Idaho's just kind of like peeking over the fence, like, what's going on in here, guys? But they might make it in. We'll see.
They got some big games weekend, coming man. Up that they're gonna prove themselves, or
things are gonna get interesting.
They were like, so Idaho had a tussle with Northern Colorado there. Like, Northern Colorado was in Idaho were like in the heat of battle for a long time, and I was like, well, I thought Idaho was pretty good, but UNC's taking it to them a little bit, but then they pulled away. So I don't know what to think about Idaho. I think I'll have a better picture after they play Montana, and I think they have to play Sac State too. I'm not sure, but
I believe so.
They got some games coming up. Yeah. All right.
Let's move on to the press conference, huh?
Yep. We'll move on to press conference. Let's get off the injury report real quick. Sorry, I couldn't speak there for a moment. We're healthy. I mean, we're gaining people back. This is kind of weird to say, but mid-season, we're becoming more and more healthy. We get Tommy Millot back. If you haven't heard, he's coming back. We'll talk about that in short term. But Coach Vigen did say in his presser that by and large we're healthy, which is good for our running backs. Lane Sumner came back last week, even with his big clunky elbow brace that looked like the state of Florida. It's he was there. And who else did we get back? I felt like there was one more.
There was one guy. He kind of tucked away in the press conference. I heard Brent Vigen did say that Malik Mullins is healthy for the first time.
Oh yeah,
and I'm not sure he was ever going to factor in. Did he? Has he played?
Yeah, he got a couple plays in the very end. I saw number 0 out there. So,
well, there you go. So yeah, we're getting healthy, and now Rylan Ort should be back. Knock on wood. That whole disaster, we don't need to really rehash that. We already displayed our anger on that on the instant reaction episode. But yeah, it'll be good to have him back against a team where, he's not going right into the fire right away necessarily against a team like Northern Colorado, who we don't want to overlook necessarily, but, this is a game that the Bobcats should win, but it's on the road, and we'll get into that. But really good to have him back for this kind of game. We're kind of seemingly getting healthy at the right time for a huge showdown at Weber, and they'll have a bye week. So it's good to hear. It's positive. We made it through kind of some really tough games, shorthanded, and we all just thought, like, if we can just make it through these games, we're going to get healthy, and the Bobcats are going to get rolling, and so far, it's all come to fruition.
Yeah. Other thing to talk about real quick is Callahan O'Reilly was awarded the Defensive Player of the Week.
Woo.
The Big Sky had 9 tackles,
He's been
1
playing so
forced
well.
fumble, and 1 interception. I think this is a good time for us to talk. I'm going to sprinkle in a Golden Coolie question for us from our boy Bleeding Blue. Danny Sprinkle, yes.
Danny Sprinkle it in.
Danny Sprinkle. Okay, no. This is from Colorado Cat. Who's your defensive MVP halfway through the year?
That's a good question. The 2 candidates that come to my mind, obviously, are Callahan O'Reilly or Sebastian Valdez.
Yep.
I'm going to say Callahan O'Reilly. That was a tough one. I really had to think about that. He's been the steady Eddie the whole time. Maybe not the splash plays that Valdez has been making previously, but without Valdez just being kind of the guy that's O'Reilly just being the guy that he is, things could have been more porous. I don't know. He's the most consistent guy, and now he's starting to kind of step up into his leadership role, I think it looks like, and having himself a really fine couple of games. So in a very narrow vote, I would pick Callahan O'Reilly.
I was leaning the same way. He leads the team in solo tackles with 23. He's second in total tackles at 41, and just 1 right behind Danny Yu. But he leads the team in interceptions. He has 3 interceptions. Obviously, he's not going to have the sacks because that's not his role. But yeah, Valdez would be like if Cal was 1A, Valdez would be 1B.
Yeah, we're not 5-1
Good
without
question.
either of those guys, and that was a Colorado Cat. I don't know if you mentioned the name of.
Yeah, I did. I thought it was boy Bleeding Blue, but I did make that adjustment. All right. Well, I think we need to get into the recap.
All right. Well, let's start with the stats. The Bobcats defeat Idaho State 37-6 on homecoming in a beautiful day in Bozeman. It looked like that on the telecast. Of course, we don't live in Bozeman or Montana. We don't get to go to games, which is just always a little depressing. But 37-6, the Bobcats invert the first down category. 31 first downs for the Bobcats to 13 for Idaho State. 7 for 14 for the Bobcats on third down. So good third down percentage for the Bobcats, and especially holding the Idaho State Bengals to just 3 of 10 on third down. 254 total yards of offense for Idaho State, which I'm pretty sure like 75 of it came on the very first series. 465 yards for the Bobcats. Not a statistically huge day for the Bobcat offense, but the game was over at halftime and things were played very differently in the second half, and we'll talk about that. 210 yards passing by the Bobcats, just 173 for the Bengals. 255 yards rolled up on the ground for 4.9 yards per carry for the Bobcats. Just kind of a Bobcat average day in the office. ISU just 81 yards on the ground for just 3.4 yards per carry. Pretty clean game. 3 penalties on the Bobcats, just 2 for Idaho State. And, of course, the big one here, 6 turnovers committed by Idaho State, including 1 on the last play of the game as the clock struck 0. But 0 turnovers for the Bobcats. So the Bobcats end up plus 6 in the turnover category. You're probably going to win a lot of football games when you're plus 6 in the turnover margin, and double them up on time possession, exactly 40 minutes and 1 second to 19 minutes and 59 seconds for Idaho State. You're also going to win a lot of football games when your time possession is double. I feel like the turnover one's probably more indicative of winning because you can score a lot of points and not have a big time of possession. But yeah, two statistical dominations right there. So there's kind of the rundown of the team stats. So passing it over to Foley for some individual statistics.
Let's lead off with Sean Chambers. Sean Chambers is inching his way up on the all-time touchdowns of single season. He now has 15. Yes, right. All right. 15 on the season. He had scores from 4 yards, 13 yards, and 6 yards. He had 3 touchdowns. Did not pass for a touchdown. Rushed for 3 touchdowns. He had 150 yards passing on 16 completions, 22 attempts. He was 8 for 33 in rushing. We didn't rush Sean Chambers. In fact, here's a stat from Tom Stuber, Tomcat, on Bobcat Nation. I'm going to credit him. I read one of his articles, and he said for the first time, Montana running backs had more yards 202 yards on 39 carries than the Montana State QBs this season.
Wow.
Our QBs only had 46 yards on 13 carries. You always talk about Taylor Housewright crafting a different game plan every week, and there is evidence of that. So pretty cool stat by Tom.
Yeah, Tom Stewart always
putting
comes
that out there
with the cool stats, a lot of research. So check out Tom Stewart if you want like the good stats, because we don't come up with that kind of stuff here.
Yeah, we should have him on like a episode, or just have him, come on and give us some insights. He's a good guy. All right. So Sean Austin was 8 for 8 with 60 yards. I like seeing him in the fourth quarter. That was a prediction I put on Bobcat Nation that did come true. Sumner hit himself 100 yards right on the nose, 15 carries. He had a long of 23. I believe that was the longest play we had, was a 23-yard play all day long.
It is.
So that was kind of interesting as well. Elijah Elliott, he had 16 carries, 68 yards. Derek Snell, he had 2 rushes for 7 yards. We saw him in the backfield quite a bit, and he had 3 catches for 16 yards. I'm not going to go through this, but we had a ton of players, 11 different receivers, like we mentioned in the instant reaction episode, that caught a ball. That in itself is certainly impressive and worth noting. Let's see. Callahan had an interception and a forced fumble. James Campbell had an interception. Jeff Manning had an interception. Good job, Jeff.
You did it.
David Alston had a forced fumble, strip sack. Askelson had a forced fumble. And I want to give some props to a guy I was a little hard on. Stones Glessner had completions, had made from 27, 40, and 48, which that is hard to do. He had that chip shot that was a little low and got blocked on the last drive, but he went 3 for 4. That's a good day for Stones. Nice job, Blake. Let's see. Anything else? Well, I guess I'm going to mention some of the guys on ISU. Sagan Gronauer. Sagan? I want to say Peter Sagan because he's a cyclist and I like the Tour de France. But anyway, okay. Well,
Sagan, I don't know. Sagan Gronauer.
Okay. He was 16 for 23, 173. I mean, that's a pretty good day. That's not bad. Third string quarterback.
16 to 23, 7 incompletions, 3 of them were interceptions. That's kind of funny.
Okay. I didn't mention that part. I was trying to pump him up a little bit. Let's see. Hunter, the running back, Raiden Hunter, was 8 for 31, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions. Oh, no, excuse me. He didn't have a touchdown.
No, he didn't.
My notes. What? This is my handwriting. I'm trying to fit everything in the margins over here. We were really concerned about Xavier Gilroy. He had 1 lost fumble. He was 8 for 80, so he did have 8 catches, 80 yards. That's pretty good. But he wasn't a huge factor, only 80 yards. And then Chendon James, he was the guy that caught the touchdown on the broken coverage on the first series. So he had a 36-yard touchdown. He finished with 72 yards, 4 for 72.
I mean, they had 4 receivers catch footballs. At 16 completions, and 8 of them were to Xavier Gilroy, and then the other 3 were, one's a running back, one's Benjamin Omayebu, which I don't know that position, but yeah, just 4 receivers caught balls as compared to 11 for the Bobcats. Now the Bobcats got subs in the game, so that inflated the numbers a little bit, but still pretty impressive by the defense to kind of key in on some guys.
Staying into the stats just a little bit more. When you were mining through the information, a couple of things, if you looked at the drives, this was one of the cool things that came from this game. Montana State had, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drives that had 10 or more plays. So they had an 11-play drive that took 71 yards, 5:06 off the clock, ended in a touchdown. That was our response to their first touchdown, their only touchdown of the game. We had a 12-play drive, 69 yards, took 5 minutes, 45 seconds. It ended in a field goal. We had a 14-play drive, 64 yards, and only won 64 yards. 14 plays, 64 yards, 3:10, and ended in a touchdown. We had a 12-play drive, 48 yards, took 6:19 off the clock, We did not. We turned that one over. Did not get any scores on that. We ended that one in downs. That one, if you remember, Ryan, was when Willie Patterson was clearly interfered with, and that was not called. And Vegan was just mad, like a mad bee over there, hornet that got poked or something. He was up and down over there. So, and then we had a 13-play drive, 76 yards to end the game, 7:30 off the clock with a missed field goal at the very end.
I mean,
that's controlling the ball,
dominating the time possession. 0 3 and outs. I did the research on that. Yeah, not a single 3 and out by the Bobcats, which is an amazing stat. Something the Bobcats have been searching for. It's just some consistency, be able to sustain drives, which we clearly did from the stats that you laid out, and then just not going 3 and out. So impressive offensive performance in a lot of ways in this game. Idaho State did a pretty good job of kind of keeping things in front of them. They did a pretty good job getting through the line of scrimmage and making some plays to the line of scrimmage. I thought their defensive tackles actually made pretty good plays against the running backs, getting their arms around some of our running backs. They didn't let anybody get too far downfield. They were decent tacklers in space. They, didn't let Chambers get loose. They didn't let anybody get loose. That was Idaho State's game plan to kind of keep that in front of them, I think. And, it worked for that part, but they just couldn't get off the field, though. We just kept eating them in the short little games there. Like, what do you say, a 23-yard run was our biggest play of the game, but, 34 points at halftime didn't really affect him, especially when Idaho State would turn the ball over so much. It may have been a different scenario if Idaho State could hold on to the ball, but, Idaho State did an okay job in that regard, but, the Cats still scored points and moved the ball and controlled the clock.
The thing I learned about Montana State in this game is we're getting better and a little bit better in everything. I thought our defense looked a little bit better, not a lot better. It looked a little bit better. Everything looks a little bit more crisp and just clean for Montana State. Coach Vegan echoed that in his presser today. It's just good to see Montana State just making strides as the season goes on. I think that's a mark of Vegan that I really have enjoyed so far. Vegan is now 17-4 as a head coach.
Woo!
That's something you probably don't think about all that often.
And that was Oregon State, North Dakota State, and the Grizz, and then Wyoming. So 2 FBS teams, and then the Grizz, and then the national championship game against the Bison are 4 losses.
With that win, Montana State also ties the record of home wins as a streak, 16. We were getting a little love on College Game Day, I saw. That was a stat. Our icon was up there. That's really cool. Montana State's making national news now. Montana State should go FBS. That's a whole nother conversation, but it's just becoming very apparent that we're in a conference where we're kind of outgrown our britches. We are playing teams like Idaho State and now Northern Colorado. You're going to see it when we go to Greeley. We have no business playing Greeley anymore. And I don't want to talk about this. Sorry, I'm getting on a tangent.
We have a whole episode on this. If you want to go dig through the archives before the season started, we did a FBS episode. I don't think our feelings probably have changed any from that episode. I haven't listened to that in a while, but it's probably the same.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a while now, but it's nothing new. Anyways, hey, let's talk about. We've talked a lot about this game. There's not much. It was like a ho-hum game. To me, it was like one of those games we're either going to blow out the doors, which we did, or it's going to be nail biter. That didn't happen, thank God, because this conversation would have gone a lot differently. But let's talk about Coach Vegan. We totally skipped over. He said Tommy Malotte's coming back this week and what that's going to mean for the quarterback battle.
So we're not talking about Idaho State anymore? Did you just literally just end the conversation about this game?
I kind of did. Do you want to go back and talk about Idaho State? Because I don't really want to talk about. We talked a ton about this game. We gave every stat on it. What else do you want to talk about?
I mean, well, we didn't talk about anything that happened in the game, which is fine. You gotta give someone a chance for closing thoughts. You just can't just take the transitions like that, man. We talk about this. We've talked about this. Yeah, there's not a lot left to talk about. I guess you're right. So, I still want to see. Are you still as mad as you were about only scoring 3 points in the second half as you were on Saturday? It's my only question, I guess.
Yeah, I am.
You're still cranks.
Yeah, and a couple people on Bobcat Nation just made me dig my heels in just a little bit more. I'm not going to say any names, but yeah, I mean, hey, it's okay to be mad that we were going only 3 points in the second half. Coach Vegan said it himself. It's disappointing. We weren't trying to score. I mean, we were trying to score. It's hard to say you're not trying to score. We weren't trying to run up the score, is what I was trying to say. We should have had more than 3 points. Glessner should have hit that one at the very end. That would have gave us 6, but man, at least 14 more points.
Why?
I thought going into the third quarter, we would have had, or going into the fourth quarter, we left at least 14 points out there.
No, I'm curious. Where did you arrive at that number? Why 14?
So we got into the red zone. We turned it over on downs, and we turned it over on downs on a crappy call from the refs. And then I do believe we went for. Did we kick the field goal when we were 4th and 1? Or 4th and 1? I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
Now I'm starting to think huh?
I don't remember.
Do you remember this?
No.
Okay.
It was short, I think.
Yeah. Anyways, at one point I thought we should have gone for it. We could have easily picked it up and scored, continued to score. So I just thought 14 points was apropos.
Just curious. Yeah. Okay. I mean, any other closing thoughts on this game? I guess it was better than last year against Idaho State. I felt a lot better coming out of this than last year. The second half left a little bit to be desired, but the Cats went super conservative, protecting the health of the players. I mean, they did it smart. Boring, perhaps. Not exciting. Not what you want. You want to see them pound the ball a little bit more. And we've harped on this throughout the season a little bit. The Cats have had chances to put teams away and didn't do that. Now, the game was already over by then, but it would have been nice to see them continue to kind of like pile it on a little bit when the game, it's early third quarter. Anything can happen in a game still. It doesn't really matter if it's a 21-point lead or 30-point lead or whatever. And, it's not quite out of the realm of possibilities. So it would have been nice to see a point scored or a touchdown scored in the second half. But overall, man, no real complaints from this game. That's what it comes down to. No complaints. We did what we were supposed to do. Took care of business. We got better, I think, in every single possible way. I feel we took little baby steps in a lot of areas, continuing to improve. That's what Vegan talked about a lot in his press conferences. Is the teams are now the guys are just looking out there to get looking to get out there and improve every week, and he felt that they did that here this weekend, and I agree.
Sounds good.
All right, Tommy Malot's healthy.
Good wrap up.
So, Sean Chambers is 29 of 43 for 67.4% completion rate, 377 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 26 carries for 236 yards and 6 touchdowns in his 2 full games as a starter. Tommy Malott is back healthy. What do the Bobcats do, Ryan Foley? I think Vegan mentioned, he did mention that they want Tommy Malott to start. I don't know if that's smoke and mirrors. What do you think? What do you think right now? Malott's back. We didn't know that on Saturday. We know that now. What would you like to see?
Vegan quoting him, it's an idea is to start him.
Which could mean anything too. It could mean he comes in for the first series as the starter and then he doesn't play anymore. Who knows?
Oh man. So when you texted me this in between classes, I looked at my phone sparingly today during class, and you said Malott's going to start. My instant reaction was negative. I think that tells you the true feelings of my heart right there.
Yeah.
Instant reaction is like, oh man, no offense to Tommy Malott, but that's just how I feel. You can't avoid your visceral reaction. And then I started thinking about this, and this kind of reminds me of Major League Baseball coaches who take out a starter at 5.5 after 5.5 innings, and that starter is just cooking, he's just dealing in the game, and they're worried about his pitch count, so they pull him at 5.5 innings, and they put in their middle relievers, and then the middle relievers suck, and then the closers blow the game. When you should have just left your starter in the game the whole time, Let him pitch into the seventh, unless he gets a hit or a couple. Just let him see what he does. And right now, I think that when you start trying to manage the game, as these managers in Major League Baseball do in this way, kind of like David Bell for the Cincinnati Reds, he does this all the time. It just bugs the crap out of me. I think maybe Coach Vegan is trying to manage this, maybe Taylor Housewright, and they should just, in my opinion, Ryan, just kind of let it go. Sean Chambers has a lot of momentum behind him right now. It's stupid to mess with that. I think it's just kind of stupid to mess with it.
That's really what it boils down to. Like, ride the hot hand. Chambers has looked really good. It's like, I don't know why you mess with something that just looked so good. Now, he hasn't had to make any like big important throws. The Cats have coasted early and fast in his two starts.
I mean, he has. Look at UC Davis, man.
Yeah, I'm saying like no game-winning type drives or nothing too pressure-filled. And okay, so there's a question about this. This is probably as good a time as any to ask this question. We had a Golden Coolie question from Bleeding Blue. Which quarterback would you trust more down by a score in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes on the clock?
2 minutes on the clock in the fourth. Yeah, I'm trusting Sean Chambers. I like his legs better. I like his ability to find an open passer better too.
I mean, I probably trust maybe the decision-making a little bit more with Tommy Millott, but I mean, that doesn't mean he's going to win the game for you. He's just not going to make a mistake necessarily. I mean, Chambers, as painful as it is to say, he led a nice game-winning drive against the Bobcats last year and in a super annoying, frustrating fashion with a touchdown with 17 seconds left, or maybe not quite that few of seconds. That's terrible English. But, he had a good drive against the Bobcats to win the game last year, so he's proven it. I don't know. I mean, that one's pretty close. If we're going on that question alone, it's pretty even. I might pick Chambers now, probably just because I think he can do more with his arm. He can make more throws. He can go through progressions, and he can stay more comfortable in the pocket. I think Tommy takes off earlier than Sean Chambers does. I think Sean Chambers has better pocket presence and keeps his eyes downfield better at this point in his career. Tommy could get there. I don't want this to be like a Tommy bashing session. I just think there are certain things that Chambers does better, and all those things I think combined might be better in the 2-minute offense there with the game on the line. So, I mean, I'd probably pick Chambers at the moment. Maybe I'm recency biased by what I've seen from Chambers, but right now, I mean, that's probably my answer.
We don't know what practice looks like right now, but let's say Chambers is just rolling in practice and Tommy is just coming back. Chambers seemingly has won over the team. I mean, both of them have. We've heard that nothing but positive things about the relationships, but does putting Tommy back in cause a rift in the team between coaches and players?
I mean, that's the other thing to consider, like the locker room. Like, how do you feel as like a guy that like you like this guy and then this guy comes in and then this guy comes in? I mean, is it going to start to be a distraction? Is it going to start to be a problem if you can't keep one guy that the guys can rally around if they just keep switching them out? I don't know. This can end up being a problem.
Unless Tommy comes in and deals, and that's what they see. They have to be united on this, because if they're not careful, this could tear up the team.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the best for probably locker room cohesion is to go back to the way things were, involve Chambers a little bit more, have him still scoring touchdowns, making a few plays here and there. I mean, they were getting Chambers and Tommy involved more together in the Eastern Washington game before Tommy got hurt. So, I mean, things could be more of a 60-40 type situation. I mean, that's how the year started. That's kind of how things were meant to be. So if they went back to that, I don't think anybody'd be upset necessarily. That's just me.
I would
speculating. Yeah, I mean, I meant in the locker room. I would not be real thrilled. But if it happens and Tommy comes out and just blows the doors off, then I'll be the first one to say, "Whoops, my bad. I was wrong on that. Good job, coaches." And maybe he does. Maybe that. I don't know. I just. It's been so refreshing to see a quarterback like Chambers look like a quarterback. It's been so long, I feel, at Montana State. And maybe that's why I'm liking this so much and I'm so partial to it, because it looks normal. And we just haven't had real normal quarterback play very often over the years at Montana State. And maybe I'm showing my bias just because it looks good. It passes the eye test, and maybe it's not the most effective way or the best way to win football games for the Bobcats, but it certainly looks the best.
He has more quarterbackiness.
Yes.
Quote, quote, unquote. You're right, Ryan. The offense has been humming. And now all of a sudden we're going to go back to this dual quarterback system. It just feels blah.
I mean, it's clear that,
Yike.
I don't know if it's house cut or vegan, but the offensive staff wants to have 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
That's just what they want to do.
that.
Even if they find a dude, they still want to have packages for the other dude. Now, it just maybe the real question is, who's the main dude now?
Yeah, my fear is that they try to force it when it's not as organic as it should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like you said, pulling out a starting pitcher when he's cooking. That's what could happen.
Yeah. But I'm going to trust the process. We don't know what's going on in practice. We've heard nothing but good things about practice, to be honest. And so, man, I guess this is one time when we just need to trust Coach Vegan and just see what happens.
In Vegan we trust. He's given us no reason not to at this point, really. So,
good point.
All right.
Well,
any
coming
other
up,
Cooley questions or anything we want to hit on this subject? I don't think so. I don't think we really have any more. I think that might be about it.
Like, my parting thought on it is, hey, it's going against Northern Colorado is when it's going to head. So not a bad game to kind of maybe figure some things out. I'm not going to want to put the cart before the horse on that. But it's not like we're facing Weber next week and we're trying to figure this out.
I mean, honestly, this could be a game where we put some stuff on film to mess with Weber.
Exactly.
Like, we could do whatever game plan we want with the intention of having a full different game plan against Weber State. We could be thinking, like, right now in our heads, House Right's thinking, like, at Weber, it's going to be the Chambers show, and we're going to bring in Tommy for some trickery. But next week against Northern Colorado, it could be Malott taking like 65, 70% of the snaps. Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's weird and exciting and also kind of like all frustrating all at the same time.
Yeah. Well, we're happy that Tommy's back. Don't let that pass you up.
Yes.
That's an important thing.
It's a good thing to have.
Yes,
he will be involved in some way. Like, even if in our scenario, in our minds, when Chambers is still like the guy, like Tommy Lott's still going to make plays. He's still going to be involved in the offense. I don't think he's too good of a football player to not have on the field in some capacity.
True.
I don't know how that works though, but he'll be out there. So Northern Colorado.
All right, where do you want to go?
Let's talk a little bit about Northern Colorado. I think we've answered all of our Golden Cooley questions, so we have an opportunity to get out of here. Relatively good for us. So let's just spend a few minutes talking about the Fighting McCaffrey Battling Bears. This one concerns me mainly because of this will be the first game this year where we've played in a non-environment. Our 2 road games have been at Oregon State, which is obviously a very good environment. We were there. There's a lot of people. It was exciting. A lot of Bobcat fans, too. Eastern Washington's usually a pretty good environment because Eastern brings at least, 7,000, 8,000 at minimum of their own fans, and the Bobcats bring 1,000 to 2,000 themselves. There's going to be maybe 1,000 Bobcat fans at this game and maybe 1,500 Bears fans. So maybe we're talking 3,000 fans tops. And then this is a big drastic change. We've been playing mostly home games. I mean, this is a bring your own energy game, as Jet Joe would say, and I'm a little concerned that we're going to come out flat in this game. But maybe that's just not Vegan's style, and Vegan's very even-keeled.
Yeah. His approach is the same every week. He always talks about that. He's like, we have to approach every Saturday the same. And that was a knock for me against Ash. And I loved the difference about that against Chocho was more emotional. And that fed into what I like to hear. Coach Vegan's like, nah, we're going to treat every week the same. And hey, he's 17-4. But those 4 losses are big losses, right? So those aren't losses against Northern Colorado. So we'll see, man. It's Northern Colorado is a weird team. They have I think they're 2-3 right now with wins against Idaho State. They got their butts whooped last week at Sac. So they lost 55-7 against those guys. They beat Lamar 21-14. Lamar's winless right now in the Southland. So they're like
And the Southland's
5 or 0
a pretty bad conference too. So being winless in a bad conference.
They kind of hung with Wyoming for a little bit, but then Wyoming took the game away from them. So UNC is about what you thought UNC would be. We put them in second to last place, always in the standings, the power rankings. They have an interesting quarterback situation. I don't want to get too much into it, but we all heard about Dylan McCaffrey, Coach McCaffrey's son. He's a graduate now, so this is his last year. He took over during, let's see, what game did he take over at? I think Idaho game. As soon as conference started play, Dylan McCaffrey took over. He had pretty good stats for a little while, but he took over from a guy named Jacob Sermon. And that name was familiar. I was like, how do I know that guy? He started at University of Washington. He was a Husky when he first started, moved to Central Michigan, and then transferred over to Northern Colorado. So just kind of a weird situation for him. He's been 3 stops. He's a junior right now.
All right. Well, we had some audio issues there, as we do from time to time. Ryan Foley, you were just talking about Jacob Sermon. I believe the last thing you said was something he's had 3 stops. He's a junior now. Does that ring a bell? Can you continue your conversation now?
Yeah, it's just another quarterback over at UNC he was a 4-star recruit, backing up a 5-star recruit. He had there in Northern Colorado and Greeley playing amongst, like you said, about 3,000 fans. Something's up there. But another name our listeners will know, Elijah Dodson, graduate transfer from Sac State. He's over there. He only has about 350 yards on the year right now, 98 carries. But he is good at catching the pass out of the backfield. He's a guy that we're definitely going to have to hone in on. And then there's another guy I wanted to mention before we get out there, a guy we should all be aware of. I don't think he's playing right now, but there's a name out there, David Hogue, linebacker junior. He's one of the most league-ready guys in the league right now. He's a second-team All-Big Sky from last year at linebacker. I mean, you're backing up Troy Henderson, and then who was the Patrick O'Connell last year, so you're not making first team. But this guy is scary looking, 6'3", 245, He looks like a veteran, an NFL veteran right now. I don't know why that guy is at Northern Colorado. Unreal.
Has he been hurt?
But I don't think he's playing. Yeah, he's hurt. He hasn't played at all this season, but he's a guy that we don't know if he's going to play or not. Coach Vegan definitely mentioned him in the press conference today.
Yeah, Northern Colorado announced David Hogue is out indefinitely. Okay. I didn't know that. Well, I mean, that does not help Northern Colorado's cause when you're a team that isn't very talented top to bottom and you lose an all-American type guy. That's not going to help your season out very much. Yeah, Elijah Dodson's also very dangerous in the return game. He had some good returns. I was watching a little bit of the highlights from their Idaho game and one other game, which I can't remember. But yeah, Dodson, not quite maybe his all-American type self that he was at Sac, but he's still very dangerous. He's still very fast. He's a good size running back. And one thing I noticed watching the highlights, Northern Colorado loves to dump the ball down to their running backs. They throw a lot of passes to their running backs, and I think it's meant as a check down. They'll leak him through the offensive line, and then he'll go stand 5 yards downfield and just kind of stand there as Dylan McCaffrey looks around, decides not to throw the ball, and then dumps it to a wide open guy who runs for 11 yards. Seemed to be a very common Northern Colorado play. I think this game is going to come down to good tackling and no blown assignments. McCaffrey's looked good at times this year. He has an arm talent. He's got a good mechanic. He's a big kid. He can make throws. He can't do it consistently, but if he gets into a rhythm and you don't bother him at all, you don't get in his face and make him make poor decisions, he can pick you apart a little bit. The running backs are talented enough to make some guys miss. So, Northern Colorado's got some weapons, and our defense has, gotten a little bit better, but we've still given up some big plays. So, Northern Colorado could score some points in this game. I imagine they'll score a bit more than Idaho State did. So, it could be a little bit of a challenge down in Greeley, which they haven't really played very much in Greeley, have they?
This is only their third home game.
Yeah. So they're going to be fired up, playing the number 4 team in the country at home for only the third home game of the year. The few fans that are going to be there are going to be ecstatic.
It's another trip to Greeley, man. So, yeah, it's a weird place to play. They have turf now. They don't have grass. I kind of wish they still kept the grass, but
that's kind of nice.
I'm expecting Montana State to come out with their 6th win of the season, go 6-1 in the conference, and then I can't wait for next week. Granted, we win. I can't wait to start talking about Weber next week. But as a fan, we can do that. I know players and coaches, full focus on Northern Colorado.
Yeah, for sure. The last thing I want to see about Northern Colorado, they've had multiple defensive touchdowns this year. So that's something to keep an eye on, that where they could make some noise if they can score on the ground again. But yeah, it's going to be hard to not kind of just start salivating towards that Weber State matchup, start overlooking the Bears, which, like you said, we can do as fans. Vigen and company, too businesslike. Vigen's way too businesslike to let that happen, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Over and under. How many, let's say, 1.5 broken clipboards. I'm not even specifying which coaching staff, but that's over and under 1.5 broken clipboards in this football game.
I'm going to go under.
That's a smart play. Yeah.
But with the over on the skinny pants. What do you put the over on the skinny pants?
Skinny pants? Let's go, let's 2.5.
Okay, I'll take the over.
Take the over on a number of Northern Colorado coaches wearing pants that are too small.
No comment.
You got to focus on how tight your pants are. I believe that was how it went. I don't remember. If you don't remember, if you don't know what we're talking about, I'm not going to explain it. But there was a funny incident last year where a fan heckled a coach from Northern Colorado and about his pants. And he got mad and broke his clipboard and threw it into the stands as a souvenir. That's what it was. Remember, the coach is like, "Oh, it's just a souvenir. I'm just throwing a fan a souvenir." I forgot how funny it is. Just thinking back to that, it was so ridiculous. So ridiculous.
All right, man.
That's about all I got to say about Northern Colorado. We didn't spend a lot of time prepping on it because I didn't expect we'd spend a lot of time talking about them. I think it should be a good win for the Bobcats. It's more of one of those games where just like you start talking about what you want to see more than getting the win. But I also thought about this. The Grizz struggled a little bit in Pocatello. They always kind of struggle in Pocatello. Like Greeley's kind of our Pocatello. Like the Cats seem to just have crappy games in Greeley. So hopefully we can avoid that. That's the big thing. Avoiding like the letdown game, the trap game, the no environment game, the weird game in Pocatello. Or Greeley. Should be okay though. I have faith that Vigen's got the guys ready to go.
Vigen's never been there. He doesn't travel with him.
There you go. He's in for a treat. He's in for a treat. All right. Well, thanks everyone for submitting Golden Coolie questions. That was a lot of fun. Did we pick a winner? I started going through the outro. I'm like, wait a minute. We didn't pick a winner. We're so
I closed it up. I'll let you pick the winner.
All right. Well, I hadn't even thought about it. So I like Colorado Cat's question about the defensive MVP. That's always kind of those are kinds of things I like to do and talk about, but I never remember to ask the question or talk about it. So yeah, Colorado Cat, I'm pretty sure you have like 5 Golden Coolies. So let us know if you want us to send one to a friend or something. We'll hook you up, your friend, whatever. Have another one to give away. Anyway, yeah, there you go. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks everyone for tuning in all season. Jeez, I just basically said the same thing 2 different ways. I'm tired. Foley, man, let's just get out of here, man. Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.